How can we predict what the next candle is likely going to do? What direction will it trade in? Is this PD array likely going to hold or not? The answer to all these questions can be found through one candle. With one candle, we can anticipate what the next candles are likely going to do. So if we can understand a singular higher time frame candlestick, we can fully understand what the lower time frame is doing. And this simplifies our analysis tremendously because the less candles that we now have to look at, pay attention to, and analyze, the better. Remember, less is always more. So that's what we're going to cover in this video: simple candlestick logic. We need to first understand respect and disrespect candles. So respect candles are seen through long wicks right here and small bodies. Long wicks, small bodies. And what that's signaling is a rejection. A rejection we want to see occur at a higher time frame PD array. So this could be your fair value gaps, it could be your swing highs, your swing lows, your fair value areas, your order blocks, all of that. Any PD array that you use, this is what we want to see off of that to show a respect of that PDA. Now diving into this deeper, when I say you can read what all the lower time frame is doing from just one candle, this is specifically what I mean. You notice this large rejection wick. All that is on a lower time frame is your fair value gap, that displacement coming into your higher time frame PD array, and your displacement out. That's your impulse shift that we went over in the previous videos. So a large rejection right here seen by a respect candle is an indication that on the lower time frame we are creating impulse shifts and we have shifted order flow to the upside. Same thing is said for bearish respect candles. These are simply your lower time frame fair value gaps coming into your higher time frame PD array with the impulse shift coming out. This signaling bearish order flow, which means what do we expect on the following candle? Well, after we see a bullish respect candle, the next candle right here, our expectation is to see follow through lower. Why? Because we have that bearish order flow now confirmed down here to the downside. Meaning this next candle should come up into that lower time frame fair value gap and then push lower, expanding towards the draw on liquidity. Same thing can be said for this bullish respect candle. The next candle right here, after we see a respect candle, our expectation is for that to be a follow through because now we have shifted order flow on the lower time frames. Fair value gaps and order flow are pointing higher, and any retracement seen on this candle, on this wick, on this open should just be a retracement into a fair value gap right here in the lower time frame, and then just continue expanding higher. So we now know what respect candles are, but what are disrespect candles? It's quite simply the opposite, where we're not seeing any large wicks and we're just seeing large body closures over our higher time frame PDAs, or in the case of a bearish one, below it. In the case of a bullish one, candle body closures above it. Now what this signals on the lower time frames is that order flow never really shifted higher. We closed strongly and the fair value gaps are still pointing lower. So it's very likely we just see continuation in the direction that this candle went in. So this next candle, we would expect it to continue following through lower towards previous candle's low onto the next draws on liquidity. Same can be said for this bullish disrespect candle. We never got that bearish order flow shift as we tagged the higher time frame PD array, meaning we are likely seeing fair value gaps displacing right through that and no bearish signals, meaning we're likely going to continue expanding in the direction of this candle, aiming for that previous candle's high first, and then any opposing PD array draws on liquidity. This is what I mean by just viewing the disrespect and respect candles. You can identify everything that's happening on the lower time frame, and you can very clearly get a read on what the fair value gaps on there are doing. Are they pointing lower? Are they seeing continued bearishness? In the case of this disrespect candle, all right, likely this next candle just continues moving lower because we never saw that lower time frame order flow shift. All that can be read by just reading one higher time frame candle. So now that we covered respect and disrespect candles, let's take a look at our first example. What is happening on this candle right here? Well, let's take a look at the left. This right here, a monthly swing low. That is a PD array we want to see. How does this monthly candle react to it? Are we going to disrespect it or are we going to respect it? This right here is a respect candle seen by the large lower wick and small candle body. We are respecting that monthly swing low and we are not getting any candle body closures below that. So as we discussed, what is inside of this large lower wick? That is your lower time frame order flow pointing higher. Those are your fair value gaps shifting from bearish to bullish, now pointing higher. So let's take a look at the daily and see what's happening down there. So here on the daily, here's that daily impulse shift we saw off of that monthly discount array. So we're respecting it. The large lower wick is seen by this daily fair value gap displacing higher. Now, why are we failing this? And why are we likely going to fail it? Well, this ties into magnet theory. And all that is simply the fact that higher time frame fair value gaps take precedence over lower ones. So if there's a higher time frame fair value gap down here on the weekly, this daily is likely going to fail, as the higher time frames always take precedence. So if we take a look at the weekly, let's see if there's a weekly fair value gap right there. And there is. Right here, a new weekly fair value gap is created. So what is likely going to happen to this daily, as we just mentioned, likely going to get failed, come into that weekly gap, and then we can move higher off of that. So coming back to the monthly chart, let's mark some targets as to where we can likely head towards to. Well, we have that previous month's high as a target right there. And then we have this monthly internal range liquidity in the form of this monthly fair value gap that price can reach for after we take that monthly high and eventually come into that. So all this one candle right here has given us a bullish bias on GBP USD, where we expect this next candle to follow through higher. So moving along in price, I'm going to show you an example of a trade that I took today right here on GBP USD. So we had that bullish bias, right? We established that bullish bias on this monthly chart right here, respect candle. Beautiful. Now we're looking for a PD array we can use to move higher from. That is our narrative. Our narrative is this daily fair value gap. This is where we can look for higher prices from. So this establishes our context where we have a boundary to go inside of and look for our lower time frame entries right in there. From this daily fair value gap to that swing high. This is what I call push context. So inside that daily, I'm going to look for my 1 hour impulse shift. So here we have price tapping into that daily fair value gap we were looking at. And all I'm looking for here is a 1 hour impulse shift. Remember that 1 hour impulse shift is signaling to me that on the daily time frame, we are forming a respect candle to that higher time frame PD array, to that daily fair value gap. So let's look forward in time, see when we get that 1 hour impulse shift on GU. And we see it right there. See that 1 hour fair value gap right here, that displacement into your higher time frame PD array followed by displacement out. That is your textbook impulse shift right there. Now what I did personally right here is I did just market by that, put my stop loss at the bodies and targeted 2R right there. The reason why I market bought that, this candle was already showing intention and wanted to push higher. I did not want to miss this in case this did become a breakaway gap down there. So I just market bought it, totally fine, because I was still able to frame 2R within that daily context quite comfortably. So for me, that is totally valid. And let's see how that played out. And then there was your 2R delivered. And you even had a second opportunity to enter right here on this second 1 hour order flow leg that got created right here. If you played that second leg, this would have been your entry right there at the gap, stop loss at the swing bodies or the swing low, wherever you want, and target 2R right there. Two absolutely textbook trades on GU, a high probability setup. Let's take a look at what that daily candle looks like. Remember that 1 hour impulse shift signaled to me that on the daily we're getting a respect candle, and we see that respect candle right there. No body closures inside of it, a wick off of that higher time frame PD array, followed by the next candle. Our expectation was follow through, and there is that follow through. There is that lower time frame retracement into our lower time frame impulse shift, seen right there, textbook. So now let's take a look at an example of disrespect right here. We have this monthly fair value gap that we could have potentially seen continued higher prices from, but this candle right here, the way this monthly candle closed below it is not suggesting that. We got a candle body closure right over, just running through this fair value gap, completely disrespecting it, showing no sign of rejection here. This is your lower time frame fair value gaps pointing lower still. So you want to hold the bearish bias right here, targeting previous month's low right there, and eventually this opposing liquidity right here. This is what I refer to as flip context. When we're failing to offer fair value, we're likely going to seek that opposing liquidity. So taking a look at the weekly, we can see visually that aggressive displacement right through that monthly fair value gap, that lack of intention, with that weekly fair value gap now created against us. Now, if we go to the daily, let's also notice what's happening as this monthly candle closes, which it will close right here on this November 30th candle. We have a daily fair value gap above. So this right here would actually be very interesting for shorts. But let's take a look how price reacts. We have a beautiful respect candle, right? A large upper wick body closure all the way down here. Now our expectation is for this next candle to continue expanding lower, which we see right there, eventually creating a new daily fair value gap right there. What do we notice? On this candle, we're disrespecting that fair value gap, so that's quite suspicious. Now, why is that suspicious? Well, it's the fact that we're disrespecting this candle right here. If you look at the weekly, we are currently creating the third candle of a potential weekly fair value gap. That third candle of any fair value gap formation is a bit tricky to play. And if you don't see a rejection off of your daily fair value gap early on, or if it starts showing you a lack of intention to truly want to move lower, for example, the last chance for this to move lower would be off of a previous candle high sweep, which right here we don't get. So now we're also closing above that. We are disrespecting premium arrays to continue moving lower. We're closing above them. Overall, there's no bearish intention right here. This daily fair value gap is very, very weak right now. And we have a potential weekly fair value gap getting created at the end of this week. So my expectation when you see something like this is we may just get a consolidation inside that gap as we await the higher time frame gap to get created. So let's see how this ended up playing out. We get that consolidation and we do get that weekly fair value gap created right there. There's that weekly fair value gap. So we get a respect candle right here. What is our expectation on this next candle? We want to see it expand and follow through lower down towards this low and eventually that low. So let's take a look at what happens. And there is price taking both targets right there. So go into your chart, look for examples of everything we discussed today. It'll start sticking out to you over time. And this is something I use every single day in combination with fair value gaps and order flow. It is a key part of my model. So I highly, highly recommend you pay attention to the respect candles, the disrespect candles. That is how you can know a PD array, a fair value gap. Is it going to hold? Is it going to fail? If you're seeing disrespect candles like we are seeing right here, this fair value gap is likely going to fail. We're likely seeking opposing liquidity. If you start seeing respect candles like over here, this is a great example. It's likely we're going to respect. And you can see this early on before this candle even closes with the lower time frame order flow shifting. This on the monthly would be daily fair value gaps pointing higher, 4-hour fair value gaps pointing higher, and you expect that next candle to continue following through like it's doing so right there. So guys, if you found this video insightful, I would really appreciate a like, a comment, subscription perhaps. I got a lot more videos planned for you guys. Next month, I'm going to try to upload 3 to 4 times a month. Just try to provide more value on this channel. So be sure to stick around, turn on your post notifications. I'm about to get more active up in here. And if you're interested in my custom indicator you saw me use throughout this video, that marks out all my key levels, all my higher time frame fair value gaps from the top down, so you're never blindsided again. You can get that at indicators.sirpickle.com. The link is in the description, and we're having a 30% off sale for your first month using code FEB25. So go check that out. And if you're interested in trading with me every single week, every single day, I am in my free Discord of over 21,000 people daily. Join. The link is also in the description. Unreal amounts of value in there. We got hundreds of people getting funded, all from my free content. So don't miss out. Join right now. All that is in the link in the description, and I'll see you there.